Welcome to our World News Update for June 25th, 2021. Still in the news, of course, COVID-19. However, it's the vaccine that's taking front and center stage on the world scene. In fact, the Philippines is the first country to start threatening to put their citizens in jail if they refuse the vaccine. The question is, will there be others to do the same? Here recently in the United States, hospitals are now starting to demand all their employees to be vaccinated or be let go. While this isn't the case with all companies, more and more are starting to require it. In fact, according to reports that came out on Tuesday, Morgan Stanley employees will need to have the COVID-19 vaccine before they can return to their offices in New York. The Financial Times and Bloomberg News both reported the bank has notified employees about the new policy, which will take effect July 12th. The memo said Morgan Stanley workers who have not confirmed their vaccinated status will lose access to the building. But this doesn't apply just to their employees. Clients and visitors will also need to be fully vaccinated to enter their buildings. The policy is among the most strict thus far among the major banks as they move to reopen their offices. However, Goldman Sachs and J.P. Morgan Chase have mandated that almost all workers return to the office within the next month. But neither is requiring vaccinations. That being said, last week, BlackRock said it would also require its returning employees to be fully vaccinated as well. So, there's two major banks requiring their employees to be vaccinated. Plus, no clients or visitors will be allowed in their buildings who haven't been vaccinated. How much longer will it take for other companies to follow suit? How long will it be until the vaccination is a requirement to go to the grocery store, hardware store, or even to be out in public? A vaccination that hasn't even been FDA approved and has proven to give many side effects. However, our government has conveniently provided a law so the makers of the vaccines can't be sued for any liability that can come as a result of getting them. So, the companies won't stand behind what they make, but rather run to the government, who not only protects them, but promotes everyone to get their vaccines. In our opinion, that alone should raise concern for everyone. In other news, Israel's 36th government was voted into office in the recent weeks. The new government will be led by the new Prime Minister Naftali Bennett. He's now the 13th Prime Minister in Israel. Bennett will be the Prime Minister until September of 2023, as part of a power-sharing deal. Yair Lapid will then be the Prime Minister for the following 2 years. Bennett was born of American immigrants in Haifa. He served under Netanyahu from 2006 to 2008. He's a former Israeli commando, which is an equivalent to the U.S. Navy SEALs. He's a former leader of Yisha. Yisha is the main settler movement in the West Bank. He's a self-made tech millionaire, and he believes the creation of a Palestinian state would be suicide for Israel. The 49-year-old politician has made pitches to the hard-right voters throughout his career and has called for Israel to annex parts of the occupied West Bank. Bennett, who apparently speaks perfect American English, is said to be an ultra-liberal on the economy and takes a hard line against Israel's arch-enemy, Iran. Bennett was quoted as saying, "It should be clear, we will not allow the Israeli government to recognize a Palestinian state under any circumstances. We will not allow Israel to hand over not even a centimeter of land to the Arabs." Well, so much for any two-state solution. Now, though the new government is now in place, it won't be fully switched over until the new president is inaugurated on Friday, July 9th. Isaac Herzog was elected the 11th president of Israel with 87 Knesset members voting for him, which was the largest majority any candidate has ever received in Israeli history. Again, Herzog will be inaugurated as president on the 9th of July. So on Friday, July 9th, the whole Israeli government will be fully switched over. Just as Israel now has a more militant leadership in place, Iran just voted in a more militant leader as well. How convenient. Iran's hardline president-elect, Ibrahim Raisi, said he won't meet with Biden, and when asked about their missile program, Raisi said their ballistic program is non-negotiable. The election of Ibrahim Raisi as president of Iran brings a new face to Iranian politics and new problems for the Biden administration, who was hoping to ease tensions with Iran while reining in its nuclear ambitions. However, it seems Iran has made it clear they have little concern of what others think about their missile and uranium enrichment program. Amidst all this, the COVID relief bill that was signed by President Donald Trump on December 27, 2020, included a clause that required information on UFOs to be released from the government 180 days after the bill was signed. Well, that 180 days is up today, the day this video is released, June 25th. What will they release? Will they only release bits and pieces of what they know? Will they even release anything at all? That's all yet to be seen. But, as we stated in our last World News Update, we may see some kind of alien invasion playing a role in the end times. If that proves true, exactly how and when is the obvious question. However, it could end up being sooner than many believe. Now, what I'm about to cover is dated material, which is why we're covering it in a World News Update. This material may prove to be completely unrelated and irrelevant to the days we're living in. However, time may prove otherwise, and so we felt it worthy to at least throw it out there for your consideration. At the very least, it may give us an example of what things could look like in the future, if this isn't the time now. What we're about to briefly discuss is covered in much greater detail in our teaching simply titled, Watching for That Day. However, what we're presenting here today may fill in some holes to bring things together, especially regarding the 10th month. In short, we see Zechariah discuss the 4 fasts that are turned into feasts, Moedim in the Hebrew. These fasts were a direct result of the Babylonian invasion, and these days will become feasts in the future. As noted here in 2 Kings 25, it all started on the 10th day of the 10th month. Then, a year and a half later, Babylon invaded on the 9th day of the 4th month, as seen here. That's confirmed here by Jeremiah to be a year and a half later. Then, Jeremiah 52 shows the temple was burned down on the 10th day of the 5th month. This is remembered as the 9th of Av today because of the Roman destruction of the temple. The fast of the 7th month is the fast of Gedaliah. He was appointed by Nebuchadnezzar over the land, but murdered by fellow Jews who were jealous of him, as seen here in 2 Kings 25. Those are the days and purpose of the fasts regarding Babylon's invasion. Fasts that are turned into feasts. Now, if history is cyclical, as we're told here in Isaiah 46, the question is, will these elements be cyclical in the time we're living in today? Since we're told these days will be turned into feasts, it seems something has to happen on these days again. Now, let's take a look at present day. This is what happened on the 10th day of the 10th month on our calendar in 2020. The World Health Organization said they alerted the world to the coronavirus on January 5th. The world has been held in captivity to this virus fear ever since then. Just as the 10th day of the 10th month, Israel was being surrounded by Babylon. This time around, the world system, Babylon, was being surrounded. Everyone knows this wasn't some small event. Literally, the whole world was under siege by this virus scare. And it just so happened to fall on the 10th day of the 10th month on our calendar, the same day Israel was surrounded by Babylon. With everything going on in the world as it is right now, do we just write this off as a coincidence? Maybe it is, and that's very possible. I suppose we'll know if it is or not if nothing happens on the coming 9th day of the 4th month. That day falls on the 19th day of July on the calendar we follow. Now, if destruction is to really come on July 19th, one can't help but wonder if there'll be a wake-up call of some kind before that day. You see, in Matthew 25, we see the 10 virgins ready for the wedding day. The wedding day is Shavuot, Pentecost. It's the day of the marriage covenant. It was June 20th on our calendar this year. However, the parable shows the bridegroom was delayed in his coming for the wedding, so he wouldn't be coming on the day of the planned wedding. For some reason, he's delayed, but we're not told for how long. It just so happens that July 19th is exactly 30 days from Shavuot, falling on the same pattern of the lunar cycle from the previous month, the month and day that Shavuot would have happened. But again, if something is to happen on this day, we can't help but wonder if there will be some kind of a wake-up call given beforehand to wake up the 10 virgins as given in Matthew 25. Maybe a week or two before. Maybe a day or two before. I don't know. If something does indeed take place on July 19th, then the next day to watch after that would be the 10th day of the 5th month. That's the day the temple was burned down. I sincerely believe this could be the day the Antichrist will pursue the believers of the foolish virgins who weren't let in to the banquet. This will be when the spiritual temple gets destroyed. As Revelation says, he conquers the believers. But again, if nothing happens by the 9th day of the 4th month, pending the calendar one follows, we would say it's simply a coincidence. Again, this information is covered in more detail in our teaching titled, Watching for That Day. As always, there's plenty going on in the world to serve as constant reminders for us to stay in prayer at all times. May we always be attentive to what Yahweh is doing. We don't know the future, but we know the one who does. So, let's make it a point to pray as we walk through our everyday routines. Make more time to read. Make it a point to invest more time into your relationship with our Heavenly Father like never before. That way, regardless of what lies ahead, we know we're in good company. Keep your hearts humble in Him as we all learn and grow together in His Word. Blessings and shalom.